a surprising new twist tonight in the Will Smith story. It turns out that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences says that Will Smith was asked to leave the Oscars and refused. The group that runs the Oscars found that Smith violated the Academy's code of conduct when he slapped Chris Rock on Sunday night. Oh, really? That's a violation of the code of conduct? Shocking. While the Academy is now weighing its options, law enforcement did not pursue any action against the King Richard star, and some criminal defense attorneys are already taking notice. It was just a matter of time before some attorneys were going to mount the Will Smith defense on behalf of a client, the give him a break because he just lost his cool for a minute defense. And sure enough, a lawyer in Virginia has already tried it. I expect that this will be just the beginning. The Roanoke Times reports on the case of 25-year-old William Reno Ray, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Ray was accused of killing his fiance's mother and her boyfriend in March of 2020 in a pair of gruesome slayings. Authorities say Ray stabbed the boyfriend 20 times with a folding knife, then subsequently drowned his fiance's mother in a bathtub because she'd witnessed the killing. Ray confessed to the crime. The defense was hoping for lesser convictions on manslaughter or second-degree murder, claiming that neither of the killings was planned. In his closing argument on Tuesday, defense attorney Dirk Padgett invoked Will Smith's smack of Chris Rock and compared his client's actions to those of Will Smith. Padgett asked the jurors if they've ever, quote, snapped before and done, quote, things you wouldn't ordinarily do, like Will Smith did. I bet he wishes he could take it back, but he can't. You can't unbreak a stick. The unbreak the stick defense. Now, the jury didn't buy it and brought back a guilty verdict on the first-degree murder charges in about 2 hours. But you can expect to hear a lot more of this in courtrooms around the country. This is part of why you heard me say on Monday night's show that I thought Will Smith should be arrested. The idea that he could just attack someone coming from a distance like that, not a case of 2 guys squared up in front of each other with one guy insulting the other's wife, was clearly grounds for arrest. Now, didn't happen. Lawyers everywhere, though, now have something to point to when arguing their clients just snapped. Joining me now, Brian Buckmeyer and Jesse Weber, both are hosts and legal analysts for the Law and Crime Network, which I founded. Great to see you both. Jesse, you are here in studio with me, so let me start with you. Do you think we're going to see this used by defense lawyers? I mean, not necessarily in murder. I can't believe it's actually happened in a murder case, but in cases around the country?
I do, particularly with domestic violence cases, right? Because what you're going to see it normalize that behavior, particularly, and I think everybody was set with the wrong impression here, that if a victim doesn't press charges, or a victim doesn't report, or a victim doesn't cooperate with police, that means, perpetrators let off the hook because Chris Rock didn't press charges. You know how much I have a problem with that? They didn't need him to move forward with this investigation. They should have arrested him, and this is what we're going to see. Not only the, I snapped defense, but, if the victim doesn't somehow cooperate with the investigation, police, their hands are tied. That's not the case. That's not how the law works.
No, look, Brian Buckmeyer is a very principled criminal defense lawyer. So he wouldn't do the sorts of things that we're talking about here in terms of trying to get a prosecutor to say, well, what about what happened with Will Smith? Brian, I'm more concerned about the conversations that happen behind closed doors between defense attorneys and prosecutors saying, oh, you're going after my client for something that's not nearly as bad as what Will Smith did.
Well, that's always going to be an argument defense attorneys use because that is within the realm of possible arguments. I agree with Jesse. The Will Smith defense applied here is bizarre. But what I do think can happen, and probably will happen to your point, Dan, is this defense is going to be substituted for what defense attorneys have been using since I was in law school. It's the typical law school argument of the heat of passion. And typically the analogy given is a man walks into a bedroom and sees his wife cheating on him. And so in the heat of passion, he acts. But when you look at this William Ray case, that is far from that shock and awe of walking into a situation like your wife cheating on you, assaulting someone, or maybe even worse. So the application of it here, especially knowing the context with Will Smith and Chris Rock here, are ridiculous to compare. But I can see in some cases this being the now Will Smith defense.
Yeah. And Jesse, we were talking a moment ago about the possibility of the discussions behind closed doors. Look, I actually disagree with you a little on the whether they should have moved forward without the complaining witness, meaning any other case in California, misdemeanor battery, you don't have the complaining witness, very hard to move forward if it's not a domestic violence case. But I do think the precedent issue that it sets here is such a problem. We often say that the law sets a standard, right? And that I'm worried about. And I'm worried that it's not just going to be the Will Smith defense. It's going to be the Will Smith don't prosecute me argument.
Yeah, and is it the celebrity defense now? Because if he was in a position that if he did that, obviously nothing happened to him. But what happened if somebody in the third row did it? What happens if another celebrity did it? I mean, would they have been arrested? And I think people are going to look at this and say, well, if he can go on national television in front of the entire world and slap another comedian who was defenseless, what can I do now? And I'm sorry, Dan, I have to just disagree really quickly with that. Is the idea is you want probable cause to investigate. We all saw it. You know, with the complaining witness, sometimes they're the only person that saw that violence. They might have a mark on their skin. They might have a conflicting report. We all watched that in real time. So I think the LAPD had a duty to go move forward there.
Hey, Brian, I want to ask you about this new statement from the Academy. I know you're not an expert on, none of us are, on sort of academy procedure in Los Angeles. But I have to tell you, I'm surprised that they're already coming out with this kind of harsh statement. It says to me that they've gotten a lot of blowback against the reaction that we initially saw. The fact that they're claiming now that they asked him to leave and he refused, that's a big statement against Will Smith.
I mean, they have to, because right now the question is who's responsible? As Jesse pointed out, we all saw this. Someone should have acted, whether it be the LAPD or the Academy. And so now they're saying, hey, we did something. We asked him to leave. My question, though, to the follow would be, well, how did you ask him to leave? Was it a polite tap on the shoulder and say, hey, excuse me, Mr. Smith, can you leave, please? Or where there's a bunch of security coming up to him and saying, it's time to go. I think the manner in which is a big question. I'm going to guess it's the former and not the latter, because I saw the standing ovation when he got the award, which I think in many levels is somewhat disgusting to see that everyone in this audience saw this assault and then applauded the person 20 minutes later.
Yeah, I'll bet that Brian's right, that this was more of a, Mr. Smith, would you like to leave? And if so, we have some security that can help you if you so desire to walk out. But
he's the most powerful celebrity there. He was in the front row. Everybody knew he was the front runner to win. Tell you what, before the slap, I wanted him to win. And they were in a crisis situation there.
All right, so Brian Buckmeyer, you got to commit to me that you will never, as a criminal defense lawyer, use the Will Smith defense. You ready to go on the record and say it?
Maybe.
All right, we shall see. This is the problem. Brian Buckmeyer, Jesse Weber, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.